It's a good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he missed it! It is! Peekaboo! Villa in the lead!
Good evening, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. Please make sure to subscribe, help me to the road to 2K, and you can follow me on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon Music. Let's spread awareness of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This evening, I'm joined by my special guest, Craig Beazley, who has been on the show previously, and I'll be on this show as well. He's the host of the Cherries in all departments. This is the match preview. I'll be doing the pre-match talk show. Bournemouth versus Aston Villa on Saturday at the Vitality Stadium. It's a 5:30 p.m. kickoff. Saturday night football. 3 games to go. This is another must-win game for Aston Villa. And it's another difficult test. And it's going to be a hard test away from home. Please turn on the show again, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Chad. And it's a pleasure to be on here again. And, ahead of what is an absolutely massive game for both our sides, as you say. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I hope that we can both get our desired outcomes. I'm sure that you're looking again at the Champions League. Most definitely, we are dreaming of European football. Of course, we slip up at any point. We've got Brentford, who is our arch nemesis, Brighton and Fulham just behind us. So, yeah, exactly. It's huge. It's huge.
Because both teams, we've got both different ambitions.
Yes.
And there's a lot of similarities as well. With Emery and Iriola, they're both Basque managers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see both Basque managers doing well.
Yeah, most definitely. And I interviewed a while back. This was going back a couple of seasons now, when Iriola was first appointed. I spoke to Mikel Xari, who, of course, has worked and coached Iriola, Mikel Arteta, Unai Emery, Xabi Alonso. Also worked with Julian Lopetegui as well. So, yeah, his insight was very, very interesting, of what makes these managers so good. This high press that they play, the joining of how they. It's more about chemistry. I think whilst Bournemouth and Aston Villa's players are, fantastic. It's also the chemistry that gives the extra 10%
What it
on
is, you've
that
been
pitch.
given an identity now.
Yes, most definitely, and I think Aston Villa have as well. And I think Villa, under Steven Gerrard, he wasn't getting that extra bit from those players. He wasn't getting that chemistry. He wasn't getting those passes, which made all the difference. And of course, Unai Emery has done that. He's got Villa into the Champions League. You are the only side, I believe, in the knockout stages to beat PSG this year, who I think personally are going to go on and win that competition. So the Villa fans should be very, very proud of this season. It's been a long season, and what you see with a lot of teams, we've seen it with Wolves, we've seen it with Portsmouth. The worst case scenario was Ipswich, back at the start of the millennium, where they went up. They finished fifth in their first season and then went down in the second season because they had so many games.
Yeah.
Villa have played a lot more games than what that Ipswich team has done
Mhm.
did at
Yeah.
that time, and you've kept going. You're still in
Yeah.
that position. You're still in that
Mhm.
hunt. Yeah, okay. We're still waiting, and Villa are hoping on a
Yeah.
couple of sides slipping up, but it's so congested
Yeah.
in there that I'm sure that one or two of those will slip up. Will the three that are needed slip
Mhm.
up? I'm not so sure.
That's what's nice to have. Teams like Bournemouth
Hmm.
are trying to cycle on that typical top six even more. Looks at Aston Villa, Newcastle, I mean, possibly, Nottingham Forest are up there.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's changing the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that the traditional top six have been broken up. We've seen Spurs falling, and Manchester United
Mhm.
falling. One of those is going to win the Europa League without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um, so one of those teams you could say are going to be contenders potentially next
yeah,
season. However, the other, which honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I think Spurs might actually win their first trophy
yeah.
in however long.
Mhm.
I think Manchester United next season need to be looking over their shoulder.
And even
Um,
though they've had poor seasons,
Well, I think it's gradually over time, it's kind of broken up. Manchester City, we've seen it this year, how bad they've been at certain
yeah,
points of the season. And I think they've really struggled.
mhm,
Guardiola needs a whole
yeah,
restructure of that football team. He needs to bring in a whole new set of players
mhm.
and make them better. Arsenal can't seem to get across the line. That's their main
No.
problem.
Then no
Liverpool,
trophy again. I think Arsenal finished second. And
well,
ended up without a trophy.
exactly. It seems to be consistently that they just seem to finish in that
The
second
final
position. They just,
hurdle.
yeah, they just keep falling at it. But what's good, though, as you say, Chad, is because these sides have
Mhm.
it's disrupted that top six.
Mm.
It has opened
Yeah,
up the door for ourselves. It's opened up the door for Aston Villa. It's opened up the door for Newcastle. Okay, yes,
yep,
they do have the Saudi money, but Eddie Howe, what you would say, and this is no disrespect to Eddie, he's an absolute legend here, but not a traditional manager
oh
as you
yeah,
would see, over the past couple of years. Most of them have been international managers, quite flamboyant, been there,
mhm,
done that, got the t-shirt. Could you
yeah,
really say that coming to Bournemouth and doing what he did was been
mhm.
there, done that, got the t-shirt at the top end of the Premier League?
Yeah, exactly. The
So yeah, it's great to see, but I was gutted that day that you went out the Champions League, because
oh yeah.
I would have loved to have seen you win that
Well, what it
competition.
is, we did it at Elm Proud because we're
Hmm.
actually unbeaten at Villa Park
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
the Champions League, which is an incredible achievement.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think some of the performances were absolutely brilliant. You look at Ollie Watkins, you look at
Mhm,
John McGinn, you look at, the defence,
mhm.
Martinez in goal, absolute rock. There is
Yep,
so much quality. And these aren't new players, they're players
mhm.
that have been at
Yes.
Villa for some time, but they've just gradually got better and
Well, we
better
got
and
some
better.
real strength in depth.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely now. But with those traditional players, the players that have been there a little while
Yeah.
now, they've just improved under Unai Emery,
Mhm.
rather than what you sometimes see. Is that players do stagnate under a certain manager for a period of time. Emery's got players working. Iriola's got players working and improving. So they're two managers going in the right direction with both clubs, and long may both managers stay at
Yes.
respective clubs. I think we might struggle to keep hold of Iriola rather than Villa keeping hold of
Mm.
Emery. I think there's more
Yeah.
pull of Aston Villa, to be fair.
Well, also, before we carry on, I want to congratulate the Aston Villa under-18s winning the FA Youth Cup.
Hmm.
Look at that brilliant achievements. It really shows what such a great academy we've got. I did see that's the 5th time that Aston Villa have won the FA Youth Cup.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think, this is something that we aspire to at Bournemouth. We've just built a new training complex. We are looking to build a Category 1 academy, which will be absolutely brilliant for this football club. What you need in football is not buy-in players. You don't need lots of money. What you do need, though, is you need to grow your own players, bring those
Yes.
players through, improve them.
And you got a good structure,
That's what
get
Villa's
that good
done.
structure in place.
Exactly, and that's what Villa's done, and you can see that with their success over time. You can look up and down the leagues at teams that have got great academies. Man City are now bringing through some great talent, but even further down the leagues, for example, I don't know if you followed the story of Reading where they've had issues,
Yeah.
and I've spoken to a lot of people about that category, that situation, because I was actually born and bred there. So I've spoken to a lot of people, including their new chairman, Rob Cohig. And one thing that is being key to keeping that club, afloat is their academy. So it's imperative that Bournemouth get a Category 1 academy. It's imperative that Aston Villa keep succeeding, with their academy, because that is the future of the game.
Yes.
That's what's going to improve the
Because
club.
what it is, what Villa, look, we've got a very bright future ahead of us.
100%, 100%, and that's the sort of thing we need to replicate. So yeah, full credit to Aston Villa's under 18s, and long may that continue, because it's good to see players and young players picking Aston Villa rather than those big name clubs like Manchester United and Man City and Chelsea and Arsenal. They're going to get more chances at Aston Villa. They will flourish more if they get those chances, rather than a club which is going to just keep buying and buying and buying players, and they're just going to be stuck at the door waiting to actually get their opportunity.
Because some of the senior players, like Morgan Rogers and Jacob Ramsey,
Yes.
it's nice that they supported the youngsters, which is nice to see as well.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Morgan Rogers. We're talked just there about Manchester City. Of course, we loaned Morgan Rogers at
You
Dean
did.
Court during our promotion season. I've got to be honest, wasn't overly keen on Morgan at the time. I think he struggled a little bit. However, what Emery's done with Morgan Rogers is phenomenal. And sometimes it needs that manager. Of course, we didn't have Iriola at that spell. We had Scott Parker, but what what Emery has done with Morgan Rogers has improved him as a player.
And he's got in England. He's got in the England squad. He's really developed his game.
He has, yeah. He's reading the game a lot better. His passing's improved. He's got a great eye for goal now. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He got a couple with us, but he's matured, and he wouldn't have matured if he was stuck waiting for his opportunity at Manchester City much longer. He had to go, and he made the right call in going to a club like Aston Villa, who can bring him on, and it's great. If we had Iriola back then, could we have bought him
Yeah.
on? Yeah, I think we probably could have bought him on, like Aston Villa have done. But would he have flourished under Scott Parker? No, not at all.
The,
Not at all.
he's on the Emory University.
Exactly. And this is what's great about these Basque managers, is that, like Mikel Xari said, and he shared with me a book. And this book has got
Yep.
like 100 tactics in there. It's really, really in depth. It's really interesting to read. Mikel doesn't speak very much English at all. His English is very, very poor. But his philosophy is explained in that, and the philosophy that he imposes onto Unai Emery, Iriola, Alonso, Lopetegui, Arteta, that is evident in that book.
Well, did you see that actually at the Youth Cup game?
Yes.
There was 25,000 fans, which is a great attendance, support the youngsters like that. You seen the goal by, was it Brannigan? Have you seen the goals?
I haven't. No, I
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
seen the
the
goals.
great goal, but there was a youngster called Brannigan.
Hmm.
He's one to watch out for as well.
Definitely, and that's what's great about having your own academies, bringing through those players, saves you having to spend on those players. Those players know the coach, they know the setup, and yeah, that's where we need to get to. We need to make ourselves a Category 1 academy and attract those sort of players to FC Bournemouth.
So I'm going to talk about, the Tottenham game. So
Hmm.
Aston Villa's fixture's been moved. So what is
Hmm.
your thoughts of that game being moved? What do you think about it?
Um,
To a
well,
Friday night?
our game against Manchester City has also been moved. I'm not actually sure when it's been moved to be honest. The reason why it's been moved, of course, is because of Manchester City's FA Cup game,
Yep,
which, the FA Cup game used to be after the season's concluded.
yep,
Um, I think personally, it should still
mhm,
be at that point. It should be at the
yep,
end of the year. And I know why they're doing this. It's
yep.
because they are trying to stop it clashing with the Champions League final,
With the Europa
where,
League,
of
yep,
course, there's
yep,
no English clubs anyway. But at the same time, I just think it's unfair on a club like us and
mhm,
like Aston Villa, because I
yeah,
no doubt, no doubt, why the Spurs game's been moved. It's not because of Villa. It's because Spurs playing
mhm.
in the Europa League final
Well, it is. It's
potentially.
that Big Six narrative again.
Exactly, exactly. It's what
They're not
works
even
for
in. They're not
them.
even in the Big Six. Yeah.
Well, yeah, to be honest, they're in the bottom six. Um, but it really, yeah, it's really annoying. And do you know what? We played, and I'm going to have a little moan about it now, Chad.
Yep,
So
yep,
just bear with me on this.
yep.
But VAR against
Yeah.
Manchester United, Evan Nielsen
Mhm,
slipped. Bef- We'll say it slipped. Yes, he
yeah.
did try to challenge for the ball, but it's slip. You can see it.
Mhm,
His feet have gone from beneath him. The referee booked him. Now, at the end of the
mhm,
day, I don't think it was a booking, but we go with it. And then the referee has been called over by VAR, who didn't ever
yep,
mention a slip. What they mentioned was a two-footed
mm,
tackle. Alan Smith on the commentary was actually watching it and
yeah.
sent Evan Nilsson off. What lo and behold, Manchester United should have been reduced to 10 men themselves when
Mhm,
Agate was holding Dango Watara, and then they scored a goal, which shouldn't have been a goal.
mhm.
It, to be
Shouldn't.
fair, to be fair with you, Chad, I think hand on heart, it should, there needs to be caution
Mhm,
exercised. His
yeah.
hand was in an offside position. Now the thing
Mhm,
is you don't score a goal with your hand,
no.
but we've seen so many of those given as offside. So
Yeah.
I thought, well, if we're playing with consistency here, it should be offside. Nope, didn't draw lines or anything.
The
And
clear
then
enough. Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's unfair because there
Mhm,
needs to be some level of consistency. If it works for, and we've had goals chalked off because players' hands just been in offside position. But in all honesty, it was annoying as well because okay,
yeah.
we was happy with it, but the actual red card was rescinded 2 days later. Now that's no good
Yeah.
because we've already lost those two
No.
points against Manchester United,
It's too
where
late. It's too late. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and I agree with you. It's the big six narrative. Manchester United are again in the bottom six, like
All
Spurs
the
are.
all the London teams. All the London teams. Yeah.
Mm, even Wolves are above them now.
Yeah. That's all I didn't get is about the fixture changes. But Spurs were United, they're not even in the Europa League final yet.
Exactly, but it's just unfair. They're preempting it. So, why should Villa be penalised because Spurs, have been playing poorly all season and
Yeah,
they managed to get to this final? So, yeah,
yeah,
I can understand your frustration. Um, let's be honest. If West Ham get their act together, those
yeah.
two could finish just above the bottom three. And let's be honest, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
poor bottom three. They're
Yeah,
three not very good sides, Chad.
yeah.
So next season, if Leeds, which I expect them to do a lot better than the
Oh, yeah.
bottom three this year, Burnley, I expect them to do a lot
Yeah,
better.
and Burnley, yeah.
And I think the third team, to be honest, I'm going to say this. I think it will be Bristol City, which
Yeah.
will be a little bit of a wild card. I'm not sure
Oh,
they're
yeah.
too good, but those two, Manchester United and Spurs, if they don't get their act together,
Yeah.
they could be in
Yeah.
big trouble next season.
Because if it's the other way round, see these clubs, they wouldn't do it for teams like Villa. The thing is, like, you look at that Liverpool guy,
Mm,
Liverpool, I think it was a congested period of fixtures sometime. It might have been maybe in February, I can't remember it was, but and we had to pay the price because of that.
well, it's
Yeah,
they. The problem is, Chad, is that as we've seen with the Super League, and I really am getting on my soapbox now.
oh, yeah,
As
you
we've
get to
seen
know
with the Super League, they don't want us there. They don't
Yeah,
want us in their group. The
no,
reason being is that
yeah,
group, it makes them money, and
yeah,
making money is all they're all about. It's forget the sport, forget the sport,
yeah,
forget if Villa beat them fair and square on a pitch, or if Bournemouth beat them fair and
oh,
square
yeah,
on
yeah,
a pitch. They're not interested in that. What they're interested in is making
yeah,
as much money in the coffers as possible.
yeah.
And it's just unfair. It's just unfair.
And people are gonna have to cut to their plans. The plans who want to, like, like not to go to work, and are
Yeah.
unable to go, unfortunately.
Well, the Super League
Yeah,
would have been
yeah,
an absolute disaster. How can you
yeah,
have a Super League that is basically a closed shop? If you have a Super League, fair enough. Okay, set up a Super League, but
mhm,
make sure that there's promotion and relegation out of that Super League. There has to be, teams getting knocked out of that Super League and put into it. But
yeah,
it was a terrible idea. And to be honest, the Champions League, why they have done the league format is to oppose that. So effectively, it's a little bit like a Super League, and
okay,
we've seen in the Champions League,
mhm,
that in the group stage, that look at what Villa did. Villa qualified
yeah,
automatically for the knockout stages. Look at what Real Madrid did. They didn't. Manchester City didn't. So there was teams, and it shows that Super League. All they're worried about
yeah.
is it being closed shop, without the likes of me and you in that group, and it's sad, and that will ruin football, and I don't think it'll ever pass. I don't think it'll ever go through.
What do we need to do? Do we need to get a few podcasters together?
Yes.
We can do like a debate about it on a podcast.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Give me a call for that, because I am very, very, very vocal
Yeah,
against that. Because it is it was a disgrace that they even considered it.
yeah.
It was a kick in the teeth for football that
It's
they even
ridiculous.
suggested it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they want to do it because they want to keep the money to themselves. They don't want me and you and our clubs to
yeah,
have that money,
yeah.
unfortunately.
So I want to talk about the game then. So what do you expect from Saturday?
Well, of course, I didn't really expect us to beat Arsenal, like we did. I did predict the right result, but it was more with my heart
Yeah,
than my head. Um, in all honesty, when I saw the lineup for us, um, there was a couple of concerns. I was a little bit concerned, that we started Tavernier, but I think that the game, we really grew into the game. We started off a little slowly. However, we gradually grew. The goal that we conceded was a typical Kepa mistake.
Oh, yeah.
The goalkeeper had come out too far. Zabanier's communication with Kepa wasn't particularly very good. And this is the thing that worries me. We've got a goalkeeper called Mark Travers who's on loan at Middlesbrough. I really like Mark. I really rate him. An Irish
Very good,
international.
very good shot stopper.
He's brilliant shot stopper. He's excellent. He really, really, really is a good shot stopper. The problem is he can't play out from the back with his feet, which is what Kepa does. But Kepa does some very, very odd, bizarre things. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that he conceded that goal. His positioning was absolutely terrible. Yeah, really, really disappointed with that. But we gradually grew into the game. Semenyo had a great run on that right hand side, won a throw on in a dangerous position. And I don't know if you've seen the goal where Semenyo's thrown the ball
Yes,
in.
oh, brilliant. I watched it, yeah.
Dean Howson just glanced. It wasn't a strong header. It was just a tap, move the ball in the right direction over David Raya, 1-0. Sorry, 1-1, and it was all to play for. And then,
Still there, actually, I think you can cause us some problems. There's a
well,
lot of
yeah.
throw-ins, I think, and I think the fullbacks.
Well, to be honest, we haven't really seen that much from Semenyo. We've never seen any
Yeah,
big throw-ins like that. That's really the first
yeah.
time we've seen that. But the second goal was exquisite. Again, great play. And Evan Nilsson, that back post, um, he's done that a couple of times this season, and it
And
shows. Yeah,
Kirk is,
oh, Kirkes is a fantastic player. He really
he
is.
really loves to
And
go forward. He constantly always going forward.
uh, I would, I would love to say that he'll be here next season. Um, the honest truth, though, is he probably won't be. And the main reason being is because Liverpool or Real Madrid or Arsenal will pluck him away from us. It is what it is, really. But yeah, Kirke's excellent. Probably the best left back in the Premier League at the moment, Chad.
Really,
And
he's got brilliant cross on him.
he has, yeah, absolutely fantastic cross. He knows where the goal is. He knows how to get into right positions. So yeah, he's a all round good left back. We're not going to be able to keep him, in all honesty, to be honest, Chad. So we have to plan for the future. But in fact, I've spoken to Julia about Julia Sola.
Yeah.
I spoke to the effectively like the Clive Tilsley of Argentine football,
Yes.
Alejo Rivera. I was trying to get
Oh,
his name right there, Alejo Rivera, and Alejo said that Julio Sola is actually just as good, if not better, than Kirkes. Now, I highly doubt that, but if he's 75% or 50% of the player Kirkes is, he's going to be a very, very good left back. He's going to be a Premier League left back. So I hope Alejo Rivera is right. But yeah, he's effectively the Clive Tilsey of Argentine football, and a glowing reference for Sola like that. Means that we should be fine if Kirkes does go as I expect him to.
so from us, the point of view, of all the remaining fixtures that we've got, this one worries me the most. Because I think I thought away from home. We've got an awful record away from home. We're good at home, but it's the away form.
Yeah, I'm just having a little look at your fixtures now, and of course you've got Spurs and Manchester United. You have got the two of the bottom six. We're going to keep
Yeah.
calling them that. Two of the bottom six in there, so we are your highest placed opponent in the last three. Um, but I've got no doubts about it. Villa are a dangerous side. It's going to be a dangerous
Yeah.
game for AFC Bournemouth. Um, you've been playing really, really well all season. It's just, sorry, it's just really um,
Mhm.
how we can how we put ourselves on this game. Now we're in this category, and I said this
Yep.
actually on our show. Recently we've had been able to dictate the style of play that we can actually impose on
Mhm.
other clubs. Under Eddie Howe previously, we couldn't really do that.
Mhm.
We had to kind of we had to kind of stop and thwart teams from playing their game, and
Yeah.
that worked. We had to kind of counteract. Um, do we impose ourselves on this game, or do we try and counteract what Unai Emery does?
Mhm.
I think that both managers are probably going to try and play a similar sort of game, and
Yeah, I
that
think so. Yeah.
is going to make it very, very difficult to
And also,
predict.
Ollie Watkins, I mean, he's got a real point to prove.
Oh,
I think in
100%.
this game, he needs to take his chances. He missed quite a few chances, I think, on the last game. But
Hmm.
with Rashford out, he's got a real point to prove.
I think he needs to step it up, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think, to go to that next level, which, he's got the ability to do. We saw that in the Euros. We've seen that for Aston Villa over the past couple of seasons. He just maybe needs to step it up a little bit. I can't see, and this is my honest opinion, that if he was to jump ship and go to a club like Man City, like Jack Grealish did,
Or
I
Arsenal.
can't. Yeah, or Arsenal. I can't see how that's going to be a benefit to him. I can't see him, improving with a new set of players. What's working well is working well at Aston Villa, and what he
Yeah.
needs to do is really stick it out, make sure that he improves with those players around him, and that will eventually make him a better player overall.
Yeah. I think Aston Villa approaching this game,
Hmm.
they need to approach it like we're at home, playing that same way, but obviously at the vitality. That's what I think we need to do.
Yeah, I think it's teams don't like coming to the Vitality, or as I like to call it, Dean Court still.
But even though it's a small
Mm.
stadium, it generates some real noise.
It does, yeah, it does, and you know, I've been at Dean Court, of course, when we was getting low attendance figures, the fours, the 5,000s, which is half the capacity of the stadium. But when we was in the bottom division in League Two, um, but we still made some sound then. We
Yeah,
still got behind the squad loyally, and it has got better. There is times when it's quieter. I guess those fans that haven't been there as long as I have, and I'm not saying that there's glory hunters or anything like that, but what I am saying is that
mhm,
when you've seen the journey from the start to where we are now, it's something different. It's something different. So yeah, it's going to be an
mhm.
intense atmosphere, especially as we know what's resting on this. We expected, in all honesty, I didn't expect us to beat Arsenal. We're now in pole position to get that European spot, and we need to make sure that we get behind the squad and do that. Our last game of the season,
Well, I
if it
think if you
comes.
did it, I think you would deserve it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. We have got a tough running. You know, I don't think that this is an easy game against Aston Villa. I'd much rather a lower side down the table. I'd rather maybe even Fulham than Aston Villa. Definitely not Brentford. Whatever, never Brentford. They always beat us. But I'd rather a team lower down the table than Aston Villa. We've also got Manchester City. Manchester City seem to be firing on all cylinders at the moment, but there's no reason why we can't get a result up at the Etihad. If it comes down to it and we're in pole position by that last game of the season, I would be very, very, very disappointed if we was to miss out on Europe. That game
Yeah,
is against Leicester City, and it would mean that we've done great against Aston Villa and Man City, and you know, it would be absolutely devastating to lose it on that. So if we're going to lose that European place, hey, it's going to be in one of these two games.
because the Villa, it's a must-win game as well.
Oh,
But it's
100%.
really, it's, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think um, Villa have to go for this. They have to try and win this match. European football is still there. You can still get it and grab it with both hands. So I don't think it's beyond Aston Villa doing that. I think that it probably will take winning all three games, but you're more than capable of winning all three games considering the last two. It's crazy me even saying that, considering the last two,
Yeah.
you get through this unscathed, you know, I would put lots of money on you beating both Tottenham and Manchester United.
The thing that I think the game could be won is in the wide areas.
Hmm.
I think Bournemouth can cause a lot of problems. So that's a Cliver or Terror.
Yeah,
That's where it's going to be won. And the way we play very narrow. So I think that's the way you can sort of have it.
I completely agree with you there, Chad. And I think those wide areas for us, Semenyo's fantastic, really, really strong player, quick player, cuts in the inside as well. He's going to be a handful. Dango Watara is an interesting one, as you might have seen all season. His performance against Nottingham Forest was unbelievable. He turned
Mhm.
into prime Messi for a day, but but he was played in a position that he doesn't normally play in, which is up front. In fact, you know, as crazy as it sounds, when Enisu now was injured along with Evan Nielsen, I was panicking. The second time, it looked like we was going to be without Evan Nielsen after that Manchester United game. I was like, oh well, Dongo can play there, or Dango as we call him. Dongo Dango. Everybody argues about what he's actually is how to pronounce his name, but his game against Nottingham Forest, where he's headering the ball and scored that hat trick was unbelievable. He was unplayable that day. Dango on the left hand side, he's one of those players who, and you probably had them at Villa, where they run down the wing and nine things that they do, you think, well, what are they trying to achieve there? What are they actually trying to get at? And then you have the one moment where he does
Yeah.
something out of this world that nobody expected. They've seen him play long balls, short balls, miss kicking the ball all game long, and then he just picks it out and gets it into the far
Mhm.
corner. To be honest, the other day, he took a free kick from an area where you didn't expect him to actually
Yeah.
get a shot on goal. You
That's it.
expected it to go, and then it was just like, how has he just hit the bar with that? It was just it was just bizarre. It was just bizarre. But this is Dango for you. He will do the most crazy things that you don't expect in any moment. So you have to kind of consider him and think, well, we just have to take those nine mistakes that he brings on.
Well, do you know what this podcast as well? I've been reading some bad news from Liverpool. It's good news for you though, Craig. It looks
Hmm.
like Yuri Tielemans could be out for the rest of the season. It's from like David Ornstein. I read it on the Athletic.
I hope he's all right. The main thing is I don't like to see any player get injured and be ruled out for any period of
And he's
time.
been on
So,
player of the season.
oh, most definitely. In fact, you know, I would rather he be playing than to miss out,
That's in
three
the
vital
yeah.
games. And, honestly, I take no pleasure in a player being out for. So, yeah, I hope he's all right. I hope he gets
Hopefully.
recovers. And, okay, yeah, it is going to benefit us on the day, no doubt, no doubt. But, hey, we have to beat what is in front of us if we are going to
Well, we
be
got
Aston
Onana. I
Villa.
think we're gonna have Onana and Kamara. You can either
Yeah,
do that, so Onana and Kamara. Then Morgan Rogers could go into that number 10 position.
and he'll love to score against us. I can't be honest, Chad.
Yeah.
He would love to get a goal against us. So yeah, it's still going to be a difficult game without Yuri Tillemans. Hey, I'm not like I say, I wish him well. I'd rather he be playing,
Yeah.
and hope he gets better soon. But we have to beat what's in front of us. Yeah, it might benefit us as a team, but at the same time, my honest opinion is, I'd rather be playing. Hey, you know, I looked at that Arsenal team last weekend and I thought, wow, they're playing the full strength side. They're really going for this. And to be fair, I was quite happy with that because we have to, if we want to get a European spot, we're going to have to beat teams when they are at their fullest. Hey, we're not Man United. We're not hoping that a team is depleted. Like they did with getting Evan Nilsson sent off. Hey,
Yeah.
we'd rather if
Well,
we are
Evan
going to beat
Nilsson,
Aston Villa.
he scored against Villa.
He did,
Yeah.
yeah, he
Yeah,
did in
under
that
the flag.
reverse game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant player. I doubted him at first. He didn't score, and it seemed like he was a little bit shot shy. It seemed like he was lacking a bit of confidence. As soon as the first goal went in, that confidence rose and it went up and it improved. But yeah, the first couple of games he was a little bit shaky. Now, he's a fantastic player. He's a real bully in that box. He's a strong player, not
For
aggressive, not
a
aggressive, but
fox in the
strong.
box.
Yeah. He's in the box when you need him to be, but he's also quite creative as well. He's a good player with his feet. But it's his strength really. He's not pushed off the ball very much. He is a bit of a traditional, old school player. If you
Mhm.
compare him to anything, where a lot of players nowadays they get touched, they go to the ground. Evan Nilsson's not like that.
So, what should be Bournemouth's game plan? How do you think they're going to set up?
To be honest, I think we're going to set up how we have all season. And I know this is going to sound very, very, very boring, and people might be thinking, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, of course he's going to say that." I don't think we need to really change a winning side. Um,
Mhm.
we've already
I agree.
beaten Arsenal. We've done the double over them. Um, I think we keep it as it is, as it is. There is arguments that we maybe should have played David Brooks instead of Marcus Tavernier. Those arguments, I think, could be put to bed. Antoine Semenyo, we could have started him. Personally, do we start? Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Is of course when Semenyo come on, that's when the game turned. So maybe we do change that. So maybe Tavernier out, Semenyo on. So yeah, I think we're going to be looking at Kepa in goal, Kirke's left back, House and Zabanier, maybe Adam Smith right back. Arejo
Mhm.
is he's he's a very very good player. He's very very quick.
Playing against
Now,
Arsenal.
well, he plays against Arsenal. He's very very quick, but I think he's a little bit naive. He's
Mm.
only a youngster though. He signed from Barcelona, so he's definitely got some quality there. But Mexican international. Tyler Adams and Lewis Cook in those defensive midfield positions. Watara, you got to play him on the left. Kluivert in the middle. And I'm going to go with Semenyo on the right hand side with Evan Nielsen up front. So yeah, the one change I would say, but it's going to be the same formation as we've played all season.
Going to be a
Uh,
4-2-3-1.
yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, effectively, Semenyo and Watara will get forwards. Kluivert will be sat just behind Evan Nilsson. Adams and Cook will kind of fill that midfield void in front of the defence. But our defence. Look at that. Kirkes, House, and Zabanier, and Arejo. I think he will come good. I think he will come good. The honest fact though, I think he's a little bit inexperienced of Premier League football at the moment. But he will get there. He will get there. He's a very quick player, but he needs to more focus on
And you
what
probably
he's doing
use
tactically.
the long throw-ins. Because Kirkers, he can play them, can't he?
He can, yeah, he can. Probably not as far as what Semenyo did,
Not
though.
so many of
In
those.
all honesty, that throw on for Dean Howson, just to kind of
Yeah.
flick his head at it and glance it into the back of the net, that was something else. So yeah, I would say, Kirk has got great throw on him, but at the same time, nobody really expected what Semenyo did. To be
Well,
fair,
for Aston Villa point of view, I
hmm
mentioned Morgan Rogers. He'll be dangerous for you.
oh,
I think,
100%.
I think Jacob Ramsey suits this guy. Moving the
hmm
ball to tight space, he's carrying the ball forward.
Yes.
And also Ian Matson, him driving forward.
hmm
He's playing the last few guys, Matson. I'm really impressed with him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And from corners as well. He needs to get good deliveries on the set pieces. Take advantage of them.
Yeah, I think it's. I think this is going to be a really, really difficult game.
I'm looking
In
forward to
all
it.
honesty, it's going to be two teams that are play a similar sort of style of football going against each other. There's so many similarities, like you say, in these two squads. I think Villa's is a little bit more established than Bournemouth's. I think that's fair to say. But at the same time, we've got a great chance, and we are going to cause problems. Can we get the points that we need to keep ourselves above, those that pack behind us? Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, of course. We both need these points vitally.
Does it? And I was going to ask you, how much of a loss is it for Aston Villa without Marcus Rashford at this stage of the season?
Oh, crikey, yeah. I was surprised that Aston Villa took a chance on Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford has struggled at Manchester United. This is not his doing, though, in all honesty. I think a lot of it has to be pointed at Eric Ten Hag and then Ruben Amorim at United. I don't think that they've utilised him in the right way to get the best out of him.
Mhm.
I don't think, you know, you could put Messi Let's look at it this way. You could put Messi in
Yeah.
Accrington Stanley's team. Is Messi going to improve Accrington Stanley that much, or
No,
is
'cause
he going to look
you're
worse?
not a one-man team.
Exactly, exactly. And I think Manchester United, the players around Rashford, it's quite clear, considering their league position, are poor. They are really, really poor. There's only one player that I'd really take from Manchester
Mhm.
United in the Bournemouth squad, and that's not. It's not Bruno Fernandes, which everybody expected it to be. Is Kobe Mainoo. He's the only player that I'd really want from Manchester United. Um, but I think that you put Rashford in a very, very poor side, he plays poorly. It's like Messi would play poorly in an Accrington Stanley side, whereas you put Rashford in a side, an Aston Villa side, which is well organised, well oiled, knows what they're doing. The link-up play is great. Then it's no surprise that what he's done. But I was surprised initially that you took him on board, considering the season that he's had.
Because since he's been playing, he's been a real impact.
Yes.
And his consistency. Since he's joined Villa, he has been a consistent performer.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think he's a very, very good player. So yeah, Marcus Rashford. I would like to see him leave Manchester United. I think that's the only way he's going to improve as a football player. He needs to leave
Do you
Manchester
think
United.
he'd be at Villa next season?
I'd rather him be anywhere but Manchester United because
As long as
you
it's
know
United.
yeah, it would be good if he went back to Villa. You guys have really taken to him, so it would make sense. But hey, as long as he's playing for a side which is well established, you know, there was Bournemouth fans that turned around and said, "Oh, we wouldn't want Marcus Rashford here." I'm not sure there's many Bournemouth fans that are saying we wouldn't want Marcus Rashford here now.
Do you know what the like is with Marcus Rashford? He's an experienced goal scorer.
Hmm.
He scores when the moments matter. He's
Oh,
not
100%.
producing in the big moments.
Yeah, he's a big moment player, like you say, Chad, and he knows where the goal is. He knows how to get, the best out of his game when he's in a good side. That's the big thing for me. That's why he's not succeeded recently at Manchester United. Forget all this attitude problem and all that rubbish. There's no attitude problem with Marcus Rashford. You could say there was with other players in the past at Manchester United like Ravel Morris and I can't remember the other guy who went to France. Attitude problem there. There's no attitude problem with Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford was just in a very poor Manchester United side where
Mhm.
he he wasn't flourishing because of the players around him, because I hate to say it for Man United fans, but the coaches haven't been very good.
No. Also, as a Bournemouth fan, do you think Iriola should get more credit from the media?
Do you know what? I'm quite happy in playing under the radar. Um, the main reason
Mhm.
being is we've had all this talk about Spurs. I know that I spoke to Cecil from Arsenal Fan TV last week, and I asked him about, because if there's one team I think in this whole country that Iriola could walk into and do a really good job at from the team that they've got at the moment, it's Arsenal. Um,
Mhm.
yes, it's great that he's doing so well, but hey, I'd much rather him be under the radar because I
Come on,
want him to be
he should be ignored. For what he's done really, like, he's brought a good brand attacking style football to Bournemouth. Which is
hmm.
nice to watch as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But please, the Premier League, please, please, please ignore Andoni Areola for however long you want, because we want him here next season. I absolutely love the man. I did doubt him at first. It wasn't actually, no, let's rephrase that. It wasn't doubting because of his tactics. I thought his tactics were there. I thought he's a really, really, what he did at Vellicano worked. His tactics were there. I thought that he was coming into a squad, changed the tactics, and he didn't have the players to play those that way. And I thought because he wasn't willing to deviate from that, we had to make the change. How wrong was I? What actually happened against Burnley was everything just clicked into place. We improved, and then as we've seen, Andoni Iriola's whole style, has taken off. So
And
yeah,
you've beaten some great teams. The likes
oh
of Man
yeah,
City, that's some good results, yeah.
oh yeah.
Arsenal.
We've been to Old Trafford twice. We've been to the Emirates and won there and beaten them at home. We're the only team to actually do the double over Arsenal this season. In fact, they've lost 4 games and we've beaten them twice. So that's always quite nice. We've beaten Man City, like you say, Chad. Man City have been the Achilles heel, or I shouldn't really call them the Achilles heel because we don't expect to beat Man City. We expect to beat Brentford, but we can't beat them. But we managed to beat Man City this season. It's been a fantastic season. What Iriola's done is he's improved year on year. If he's here next season, which I think he will be, um, where do I expect us to be? Um, I wouldn't be surprised if we was looking at least the Europa League, considering
Well,
I think.
that would be amazing, that would.
Oh, it. To be honest, Chad, it would be absolutely incredible.
But even
There's
if we don't get Champions League, if we get, say, Europa League,
mm,
you'll see the Europa League, it's still a good competition. The Europa League's a prestige competition.
oh, most definitely, and it would be improving year on year. Hey, Europa League, Aston Villa will probably win that. And I'm not saying, what you've done in the Champions League is incredible this season. But, the Europa League, seriously, I think you could probably win that. The Europa Conference League, if we get that, should we be upset? Hey, we might be a little bit upset, but hey, it's a competition that we
It's
could
Europe.
actually win. It's a competition. Honestly, if we are playing like we do have this season, and we get the Europa Conference League, um, we could win that competition, and that would just be incredible. In fact, maybe that should be more of the agenda. Hey, let's go into a competition which we can win.
So, Craig, can you give me a score prediction?
It's a difficult one because, of course, you need the points to get into those, get further up the league, get closer to those Champions League places. We need them to stay within the European places. A draw probably won't do anything for us, but I think a draw is probably what we'll get. I would go. I'm going to go for 2-2 again. It was 2-2
Oh,
last
yeah,
season,
last
of course.
season?
Yeah, it was 2-2 last season here. I can see that happening again. It's not going to be a benefit for us. It's not going to be a benefit for you. But sometimes these things do cancel themselves out, and you have to go, well, it is what it is. But yeah, I've got my fingers crossed that we can get the 3 points. And I'm sure that you're really, really hoping that you can get the 3 points as well. So, yeah, but I can see it being a draw, 2-2.
I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
2-1.
Yeah, before we finish, I'm going to just a few comments.
Yeah, of
Just
course,
before
no
I want to
problem.
address with you. So let's remove cookies first. So a little look, see what comment. Thank you for your comments. Yeah. So got Michael
Yeah.
Huggins. Thank you, Michael. Congratulations to you, Chad. A fantastic night, fundraising for Acorns Children's Hospice, raising over a grand total of over £2,000. We're wanting to make it a great night, and also thank you everyone for all the generous donations. And it's great that I've given back to a great cause, which is very close to my heart, as I used to be a service user at Acorns. So after all these years, it was meant to be, and it's
No,
something which thank you, Michael. It's something which me and Michael are very proud of. And we got Jake, Craig, a great guest to have on. Enjoy this. Yeah, I always enjoy it talking to Craig.
yeah, thank you so much, Jake. And likewise, I really, really enjoy speaking to yourself, Chad. And yeah, it's always a pleasure, as always.
Then we got Mark Huggins again. You're going to upset many Arsenal fans, saying Spurs are going to win a cup.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, Spurs win a European trophy the season that Arsenal, get close. Yes, sorry, not sorry,
That'd be
Arsenal fans.
Sod's law.
Well, I think
It'd be typical.
I I honestly can't see Manchester United doing it. Can't see Manchester United doing it. Um, hey, I wish you'd got past PSG because, in all honesty, um, I could see Aston Villa in the final if you had done. And it's just such a shame. They're such a strong side, PSG. I think they'll probably go on and win it themselves, but I would have. Let's be honest, they've done all three English sides in the competition, but I think Villa gave them the biggest scare.
Well, thank you, Craig. Come on my show again.
Yeah, not a problem at all. My pleasure as always, and thank you so much for inviting me, Chad.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to smash all those likes. Make sure to give it a share. And if you're listening via audio, make sure to leave us a good review. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much, Craig, for your time.
Thank you so much, Chad. Thank you for inviting me, and a pleasure as always to talk to you.
I'm going to wrap up this episode with Villa Forever and Up the Villa.